When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite. Looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Within the gaming world, there are your general gamers, but then there are those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming. If you're one of those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming, we certainly got the place to send you. Scorpion Lair Games. That's right, Scorpion Lair Games is the creators of the true crime hit Killers, the card game. Let's not forget they also have Killers Clothing Company, their profiler game, and things like the 5-Minute Murder channel on YouTube. And we certainly can't forget the new book that is certainly a hit, Beyond the Headliners, True Crimes, Myths, and Legends. Make sure you visit Jeff and the Scorpion Lair Games on Facebook and everywhere today. Also want to give a quick thank you to our friends over at Ultra Pro, who is the leading manufacturer and supplier of sports, comics, and memorabilia storage. Whether it be card cases, sleeves, top loaders, or travel gear, you name it. We are also going to be working with Ultra Pro in the next few months to do some special giveaway packages for the holiday season coming up in a few months, so stay tuned. Make sure you check them out at ultrapro.com.
Hey wrestling fans, ECW original referee Jim Molineaux here, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio, where things may get a little extreme.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, when people think of referees, they certainly should be thinking about this man, as he has seen and done it all, from training to trying to control the land of extreme. As he got his start in the old TWA from Joel Goodhart in the late 80s, early 90s, to entering the land of extreme, ECW, in both versions. The Eastern Championship and Extreme Championship. But, ladies and gentlemen, he is the official, or one of two officials of Extreme. And he's going to be a part, since he was an original, of the TWA One and Done on May 3rd, 2025, which I know Bay's excited. He's been hitting me up nonstop, which rightfully so. Joel's back in the game, and you as one of the refs of Extreme, Mr. Jim Molineaux. So how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Joel's back, at least I think only once.
Yeah, he said the once.
I don't think he's doing more than one.
I believe him when he said that. So, but, you know, more obviously we'll keep sharing stuff with that as we go along. But
yeah,
you know,
I don't know all that much about it. I mean, I know a couple of things that's going on, but there's plenty of time down the road to, you know, fill everybody in on stuff. Like I said,
exactly.
more than I already know.
Well, sure I was going to say that Sabu is going to be at RassleCon at least. I know they publicly said that. So, well, since we're taking a time machine, I started thinking, because I've known Jim since about 2001. Okay, towards the end of ECW,
sounds good,
give or take, because of a little. Back in the day, folks, they used to do shows fully on AM and FM radio, and we were both associated with Wrestle This out of South Jersey. And so, since we're going back in a time machine, I got to show you these two pictures. I think you'll be amused. Yeah. Which, actually, they did have digital cameras at the time. So let me pull this up. And the one was a total rib on me, and I totally get why. Oh, he knows where I'm going with this right off the bat. What?
You shouldn't say that, because there were probably more ribs on you than you know.
Oh, but this one was, flat out. Flat out.
We only ribbed
totally deserve it.
We only ribbed you on days that ended in Y.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing me at the time, it totally deserved. But here is the first one with the, if you could see that. And miss you, Harry. You know, you've been going.
Good old Harry.
Harry was a good dude. Love Harry. I'll share this in the YouTube video. It's worth this shared, because that was all Mike's fault. I'll start with Mike, and I love Mike. I'm glad you're out of the hospital, buddy. But the other one I want to share is a young strapping guy that you helped out in. Young Irish lad named Steve. I think they call him Seamus now. So
yeah, he's a little paler now, and his hair is a little brighter.
Oh shit! Seamus is a good dude.
Yeah.
Anytime
admittedly, I did help him, but probably the most help I gave him was, look, buddy, your visa's about to run out. You better go home. Which was good in the long run, because I'm sure that if his visa crapped out on him, we wouldn't be seeing him on TV now.
Exactly. Big picture. But, and here, I think I could say this at this point. It's not like Harry's going to come back and haunt me, or maybe he will. Another rib on me.
He has been, probably.
You've got the body. I've got the brain.
Yeah, that'll be another one of those ribs on a day of why. But Seamus actually lived with Harry for a time being.
Mm-hmm.
So
because Harry, for those who were talking about our friend Harry, he was a realtor. And Seamus worked for him and stayed with him while he was over here on whatever kind of visa he was on. And he worked for Harry's demolition company, I guess you would call it. You know, they would clean out houses before he would turn around and sell them. So that's what he was doing here. And then he would train at night, or when he would decide to wake up and come to training.
But when he did, he was great.
he didn't have the greatest work ethic when it came to training at the time, but he definitely picked up and learned and well deserved where he got.
Yeah. Well, there's several guys all along the way, and some of them even went through the factory that may not have had the greatest of work ethics at the time.
Yeah, a lot of guys who have made it, their work ethic has turned around. So that's what it takes. Some of them we'll bring up Damian Priest.
Great dude.
Great person. Didn't have the greatest. I shouldn't say that he didn't have a great work ethic. His work mindset was in a different place. Was in a I'm doing this now because this is where I'm getting my money. The job that he was making money at.
The bartending and all, right?
Right. Working in the club and bar business. So that's where his money was, and he kind of gave up on wrestling. He told myself and Ed Atlas, we were the trainers at the Monster Factory at the time, and we were in the process of switching out from the Monster Factory and going off on our own to OTW. But he said, I'm not doing this anymore. It's too tough on my schedule. And it wasn't even the training. It was the coming to wrestling to work a match every Saturday or even every other Saturday was too much for his schedule at the time. But I understand he was making some pretty decent money between New York and Atlantic City, working at the clubs and the bars. But the opportunity came up for him to get back into the training and get the mindset that, I'm not that far away, and got a look-see, and they said, we'll take him. Well,
and Luis, I love you. I don't want my phone blowing up when because I still keep in touch with some guys. I see Damien from time to time and talk to Charlie. Charlie, his best friend.
Yeah.
And which, congratulations, Charlie. I know you just got married over the weekend, so enjoy your honeymoon, buddy. Punta Cana or somewhere fancy. But, he's done well for himself, too, with the music and everything else, too. Charlie, non-wrestling, but.
Yeah, I remember Charlie coming to the shows when we used to run the paintball place. In fact, the documentary that WWE did, they have some of that footage on there. For those who saw it, the footage of what looks like an indoor soccer rink is really what it was, but originally, it was owned by a company that ran an indoor paintball. And it had outdoor too, but they had this as an indoor paintball facility, and the honor or the tradition of wiping your feet before you get into the ring as a sign of respect had a different meaning. You were wiping the vegetable oil off the bottom of your shoes.
The thing I remembered about the one night, and I know people won't know what the we're talking about here, but I remember the one night helping you guys out, take out the ring at that place. I think, what was that?
That wasn't.
It was right off the expressway. It wasn't bad.
It was it was on 73. It was in Winslow Township.
Yeah, I couldn't remember where it was.
In New Jersey, for those who know Winslow Township in New Jersey. By the way, the place is abandoned now. It's not. Nobody uses it. I think it's been through a couple of different owners for paintball, but it's a shame. It's a nice little building for shows.
Yeah, but the thing that I got a kick at, it was a few days before, but you know how in wetlands like that, especially in Jersey here, it would get very interesting in walking on the outside. So trying to break down the ring, you'd have to park in halfway down. You couldn't get the rental truck or whatever fully down to the back door there, and trying to everybody, walking around in mud and looking like the Three Stooges.
Try to find some old planks laying around that you could put down and make a little boardwalk for yourself.
Oh boy! But yeah,
God love the Indies.
Yeah, but there was a bunch of other guys that came out of that time period since we're there. other guys I think of off the top of my head are QT Marshall, who's doing well for himself with AEW again, is one of Cody's right-hand men in his school. Mike Reed, who's been doing well in Florida. But training-wise, are you still training people? Because I know you separated from...
No. I shut all that down during COVID time. We had a building, just got to be too much. Too much responsibility on me being the adult in the room. Ed moved back to Canada to be with his family because his son had moved back there. He wanted to be with his son because his son was married and had a child on the way, so he wanted to be with family. Well, I definitely get that because I'm basically in the process of doing that myself. So I was kind of left in charge by myself. I had a heart attack.
Oh shit!
And I was just like, let's get rid of the building. Stop training guys. We weren't getting a lot of students anymore because there's a wrestling school in every corner in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So we found a couple of buildings to run events in, and I put the ring in storage, and we were doing that, going back and forth. One building 1 month, one building next month, and we would take the summer off for shows. So we were doing 8 shows between the 2 buildings, and a 1 show a year down at Stockton University, which we did for their veterans organization as a fundraiser. We sold the place out every time. It was a great event. And then COVID came along, and you couldn't work in front of people, and it just kind of got a little out of hand with the product we were putting out. And I was just like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So I shut down OTW, Old Time Wrestling, for those who don't know, just a local indie that we were running, and I went to sell the ring, and I sold it to ECWA. And Ryan, who runs it, they came to pick up the ring, and Ryan says to me, "Hey, would you like to ref a show?" And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't ref, and I didn't. I think I ref twice during the run of OTW. Just it made sense for me to step in as that enforcer of rules for a couple of matches. And I said, I don't know. I'm just really should probably just walk away. And he said, well, we've got the Super 8 is our next event. And John Finnegan's one of our referees. You and John could work together again. I was like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. John's a great dude, by the way.
I did a handful of shows for them, and I still on and off for them. But that kind of got me going. The juice is flowing. Not too bad. I can still get in and out of the ring and get up off of my hands and knees without too much problem. So I'm back reffing, doing a little managing also here and there. I've done some seminars, and I've offered to do some announcing and coaching and helping behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm keeping pretty busy. I think this year I'm probably going to hit like 40 or 50 events between conventions and shows. That's all I haven't done any seminars this year, but between those, that's pretty good for a 63-year-old guy.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're doing well. I didn't know you had the heart attack, because that makes 2 people I know well enough that had issues, because there's a musician buddy in the country world that I've known because of this since 2016, had a heart attack, was in the hospital 3 days later, had a stroke. So
wow.
he's doing well. He's back on tour.
I went the opposite way. I had my heart attack, and 3 days later I was out of the hospital. And I had my heart attack on Thursday night, Friday morning, like in the middle of the night, and they put in 3 stents. And after they had the stents in, it's Friday morning, and I'm like, okay, I can go now, right? And they're like, no, sir, you had a heart attack. And I'm like, well, yeah, but look at me. I'm up, I'm walking around. I'm ready to go. Come on. They're like, no, you're going to be here for a few days. Like, wait a minute. I've got 2 shows to promote this weekend, to run this weekend. I got to get out of here. And I got out Sunday and went back to work Tuesday.
Yeah.
But everything's, knock wood, everything's been fine since. I have a clean bill of health with my heart. And it was funny because not until I went to my cardiologist after, like for a follow-up exam, I never heard them say the term until then, but I had a widowmaker. I had a 99% blockage going in and 90% blockage coming out. But the whole time I'm up fighting. They're trying to load me on the stretcher to take me out of the house. And they're wobbling back from like, hey, guys, how about this? How about I meet you at the bottom of the steps so you don't drop me?
Okay, people, move along. There's nothing to see here.
You're negotiating like Kevin Smith did, No, you can't see my belly.
I'll meet you there.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Kevin Smith story, right? Where he was negotiating during his ordeal.
Yeah, I had mine like maybe 6 or 7 months before Kevin had his, and we both, like I said, widowmakers. We both had widowmakers.
Yeah, Jesus Christ! But I'm glad both you and Phil are doing well because Phil, like I said, I saw him back on tour. I actually was with him about 2 weeks ago, and then I saw him again in like November, and he had his stuff in March. It's like he's very aggressive on the piano and all that shit. I'm like, you wouldn't have known he was, everything. But speaking of training, folks, since you had your hand in that for so many years, especially refs, because we hear the stories about training wrestlers and all that kind of thing all the time. At least from your perspective, what is the most important thing you try to tell young folks getting in as a referee?
Curb your ego. The match is not about you. You're there to help the other guys. You're there to help the wrestler. Excuse me. You're there to help the wrestlers. You're there to help them make their match better. You're a conduit between what they're trying to express, the story they're trying to tell in their match, and the crowd. But you can't be, overboard with everything. You don't want to be, I always say, referees that are overboard look like the balloon guy in front of the tire store.
Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man.
Or on Family Guy,
So, but yeah, no, check your ego. It's not about you, unless there's an angle involved in the storyline that is about you. Yes, but otherwise, no.
Did you like
do
that?
Their business.
Did you like that with the possibly being involved with angles and stuff as a referee?
If it was necessary, if it added importance to the character or the storyline or however you want to put it that involved the wrestlers, yeah. But otherwise, I'm happy just to go out there and referee a hell of a match.
Yeah, because when I think of your style of refereeing, at least compared to others on the grand scale, I think of Earl Hebner too, because in the sense of you weren't afraid to get physical and get in people's faces.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm there to lay down the rules, whatever rules there may lack at ECW, or rules that are more, important or they're more of on like shows that I do now on the independent circuit, family oriented shows. There are more rules to lay down, so I'm a little more verbal. I come home hoarse from yelling during a whole match, and I'm very verbal when I referee. I make sure the crowd knows that I'm laying down the rules, or if I'm, when I count, I just don't hit I say it 1, 2, 3 because not only are the fans listening for it, but I think the wrestlers are too. Because just an example of if there's a manager on the outside and he's pounding on the ring, get up, get up, get up, get up. He's pounding, and I'm trying to count. And if the wrestler isn't looking at me or paying attention to what's what in the sound, if they have their eyes closed, they can't tell the difference between me counting 3 and somebody pounding on the ring. So I make sure they verbally hear me 1, 2, 3.
Well, as far as ECW is concerned, and like I said, you were there since, and its story's been told, Tri-State, when Joel shut down, Todd ended up taking over, and Todd's book is great, I should mention. Got my copy up here. Most of this is for show, by the way, these books. I can't read that high.
You can't read.
No, not at all.
The books behind see the ones that are all lined up there on the side. Behind them is Dr. Seuss and Dick and Jane books from 3rd grade.
Well, if it's the Dick and Jane and Dr. Seuss, you're giving me too much credit. But Todd has got good read, all kidding aside. But in ECW, at least, where people know you from, obviously the stories have been told as far as, especially with Paul booking on a napkin in the locker room and all that shit. Yeah, like I said, some of this shit has been told, but it. What kind of marching orders would you be given? Or would it be based on a match?
Yeah, it would be based on the match. Not only John and I are the same style of referee. John trained me. John Finnegan trained me. So we're definitely the same style. And whether it was Pee Wee or Mike Keener or whoever else came along, pretty much laid down the rules too. So we all had pretty much the same style of reffing. And it fit the company, whether there were any rules or not. Terry Funk once told me, "You're the greatest goddamn referee for a company that doesn't need a referee." There were very few rules, but if you go back and watch an ECW complete show, get off the ropes, let them out of the corner, get off the choke, break in the corner, 1, 2, come on, get back in the ring, all that kind of stuff. We still did it, open the hand. We still did it, but whether they listened to it or not was another thing. Okay, we let the chairs go every once in a while. But, sometimes you have to let things go.
And yeah, it's funny because somebody sent me a clip today while I was putting my notes together for this and all that, and editing another show that I just released was from when Shane Douglas did his video podcast with the guy from England. And Shane was talking about ECW when people would give him give him some shit, maybe not, but always, peppering him with questions. It'd be guys like Jim Ross and Bruce Pritchard and guys like that. So what's up with the thumbtacks and the this and the, the barbed wire? And he goes, well, people don't realize with ECW, and correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously I got to the game as far as ECW towards the end there, TNT and all that stuff as a fan. But Shane was saying all that stuff was usually towards the end of a feud. It was the storytelling and everything else like that. And I get it now, what he's saying, having gone back and watched the footage.
And it also wasn't everyone. I mean,
exactly.
Shane didn't use weapons or I should say chairs and tables, things like that. Occasionally, maybe you wrapped a chain around his hand, a fist, or something like that. But people have the concept of ECW being tables and chairs and all that kind of hardcore. New Jack bringing a trash can of weapons to the ring. Yes, all those things happen, but not in every match. If you go look at an ECW, even a house show, as opposed to television or a pay-per-view, there were different styles of matches. You had a hardcore match. You would have a tag team match. You would have a lucha style match. You would have a catcher's catch can match. You could have Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero, one of the greatest matches ever. You can pick whichever one you want in ECW on the same night that Devon and Bubba are putting the gangsters through a table on fire or something. So there was something in ECW for everyone, pretty much every wrestling fan.
It was the three-ring circus. You had, every category, like you said.
Right. Yeah, you had something a little different for everyone. It was the company that was able to bring people in from every kind of fandom of wrestling and bring them all together and celebrated wrestling together. And then, we left and went on our way until the next show.
Yeah, and you just mentioned them, and I didn't have it down, but I obviously always think of something that Bully Ray says on Busted Open and other outlets as well. Because people would get on his shit about, from ECW days anyway, of brawls and getting people all fired up and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
There's clips out there, and there's brawls, and those stories have been told.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Have there's, yeah, and I'm being kind when I say this, but is there any time with shit like that you were concerned for your personal safety?
No, not really. There are times I felt I'm probably going to end up getting hurt. Obviously the night they threw the chairs into the ring. There's a good chance of getting a chair in the back of the head because they were coming from every angle. Luckily, I was able to get out of the ring fast enough and hide it under the ring until it stopped. Speaking of the Dudleys, there was a night in Chicago where they're cutting a promo, and I think it was a TV taping. I don't think it was the pay-per-view that we did there. In fact, I'm pretty sure. And the typical Dudley promo where we're being rained down upon cups and popcorn boxes and everything. And I did get hit in the back of the head with a chair. Boom. And I was like, damn, I was really mad. I'm like, but I'm not going to put it over. I'm not going to turn around and yell at the crowd. I'm just going to stand here. And I started feeling a trickle of blood down the back of my head. And I'm starting to boil. And I think, wait a minute. I'm the only one in the ring. Where the hell is everybody else? And Devon and Bubba were already, nose to nose with the crowd, ready to go at it.
All right. Answer me this, because you would know better than I. And I've dealt with Devon on a few occasions. Nicest guy in the world.
Absolutely.
I have no interaction or history of coming across Bully. But the thing I always heard between those two, that outside the ring, like I just said, Devon, nicest guy in the world, and people always thought Bully was a little aggressive, or however you want to put it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to business and talking business, it was reversed. That Devon would be a little trigger happy, and Bully would be the guy, hey man, now let's talk this out. Let's however you want to put it.
You mean business of wrestling, not
actually business
wrestling.
Within when they're putting together their matches or whatever the case is.
Oh, that I was thinking
business within the business.
I was thinking like debating, or I shouldn't say that. Not debating is not the word I'm thinking of. Working on a contract or something like that.
Whatever the case, but things within the business.
Yeah, Bubba was the business end, the money business end of the team, I think, and for ECW too, because he promoted a lot of our events. I don't know. I think they were both pretty equal as to what to do in a match when putting a match together. I don't think one spoke more than the other that I can remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think they were pretty even with putting their matches together. But when it came to the financial end of it, I think Bubba was the lead on that.
Yeah. So, speaking of other jobs, and I know I'm bouncing around a lot, Jim, and we have Jim Molineaux here for those who will hear this episode, but you had multiple jobs within the company, but you actually, I've heard you state in other avenues and interviews and stuff that it was the last 2 years essentially that you were full time with ECW.
Yeah.
So one of the things I heard that you would do, and I obviously noticed because at the tail end meeting you would wrestle less and stuff, but you handled like a lot of the PR and ticket giveaways and contests and stuff. But what else did you do besides the actual in-ring referee?
I did work in the promotions end. So just I'll just throw cities out there as an example. Let's say we're doing Buffalo and Cleveland on Friday and Saturday. Well, that Tuesday, I would fly out to a town we were doing in 2 or 3 weeks. So I would fly. I always had the secondary town, the non-TV town. So instead of going to Chicago, I would go to Peoria and meet with the street team, and if I needed to meet with the radio station, take care of tickets, any situation need to be taken care of. I remember one time I set up a ticket giveaway because they were in Green Bay, Wisconsin, because they were doing the radio station we were dealing with was doing a coat drive, and their afternoon DJ was spending the week in a camper, and they were giving away coats. And I went down and sat with them for a couple of hours, and I said, all right, for the next 2 hours, anyone who brings a coat is going to get a ticket to the ECW show. So it was things like that I did. And then Thursday or Friday, whenever I needed to get to wherever we were, I would fly there and be a ref. And still, if that was a building that I had something to do with, I would still be involved with seating. If there was a seating problem or ticket problem or whatever, I would get involved if needed be.
With that being said, and I don't care, it's not my business. I don't dig numbers and all that stuff. But with that being said, excuse me, that you went full time with the company, would you say you were and God knows we hear those stories too about Paulie and money and all that stuff. But were you a salary guy, or were you paid like just refereeing, hey, show to show? You know what I mean? Just as a talent.
I was paid both. So I would get a weekly check for the promotions end, and then, or bi-weekly, I forget what it was, and then get paid per night as a referee on top of it. So I was able to combine the two salaries.
And the reason I ask that, because I'm looking big picture here, and I can speak from my own experience with Jim, and at least knowing his daughter a little bit, because Jim has 2 kids and has been married since before he got into the business. And this is the biggest thing I respect, because, and I didn't know this until doing my research prior. Obviously I knew you had a family, and I got to know your daughter somewhat for a few years there. And Jim getting into the business had a family prior to getting in, where guys get into the business, then, they get married or they have kids, and, the life stuff happens. But it always impressed me when I sat and thought about this after I heard that. And this is only speaking from me, and it says a lot, or you always hear the expression, it says a lot about a person on how their kids are. And my experience with Jim's daughter, she was the sweetest kid, so respectful, mature for her age, but she had a sense of humor too. And I never met your son, but I would assume he was similar because growing up in the same household, as far as the maturity and all that stuff, that I might have lacked at that time period in my life, which that's a whole nother story. But I have that much more respect for you because especially people surrounding wrestling might not have that with their families. There's a lot of dysfunction and stuff like that. But my experience, you had raised and had a good family and still have a good family.
Yeah.
So I always respected that.
Thank you. That was one thing I, made sure was number one on my list was my family. If wrestling were to cause a problem, I would have stopped a long time ago. My greatest supporter, who's never seen me once in the ring, is my wife. She's never seen me in the ring. But she lets me go out and do this. I mean, still lets me go out and do this on the weekends. I've got a couple of things coming up next month in New England where I'm going to be gone overnight for the first time since probably the ECW days or almost the ECW days. And she's like, yeah, go. It's the money's good. You can't turn it down. So
smart woman. How's the money?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, my daughter grew up around the business with OTW helping with, whether it's tickets or popcorn, making popcorn or selling hot dogs or whatever. My son stayed away from it, which I'm glad, because he probably could have very easily been talked into being in the business. He's a pretty good sized guy. But he has his passion. His passion's always been music, and he's a music teacher. And his kids are got the music gene too, because they're both musically inclined.
Well, you played the guitar too, so don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, but I probably forget more than I ever learned playing the guitar. Even though I got a couple hanging up on the wall there.
Mine are in the garage, so don't worry.
Well, this is the only. I don't have a garage, and I'm not putting those outside. Actually, the one I doesn't get played. I don't know if you can see it or not. The blue one, that's actually signed by all the members, the original members of Blue Oyster Cult, my
Nice.
all-time favorite band. So there's an acoustic there that I'll play every once in a while. There's an electric too. I really don't touch it, but anyway, they really and my daughter-in-law, she's my son and daughter-in-law are both music teachers. So yeah, they're musically inclined, and luckily he didn't get the wrestling bug, because it's a difficult world. It's a difficult road, especially with a family. I'm very lucky. Through 30 this month, actually probably next week is probably my 35th anniversary of being in wrestling. I don't know the exact date. I just know that it's the end of October that I worked my first match. And not very many guys can say that they've been in the wrestling business and married that long. All right, yeah, I've been with my wife 43 years between being married and dating. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah, but like I said, just with the experience of dealing with your daughter, it shows a lot about you as a person. Take the wrestling shit out of it, that you had a good family and kept things intact.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy with the way they're. I don't, as far as I can tell, they're not mad at me for not being here for this or that important thing in their lives growing up, because it's very easy to miss on a lot of things like that, especially with a business that is probably majority of the weekend. Our events were Thursdays or Fridays, Saturdays or Sundays, so you tend to miss stuff. And even if you're not in the ring or at an event, you're traveling, and that makes it tough too. And not just that, but like I said, the end of the line for me with ECW the last 2 years, doing the promotional stuff, I'd have the first flight out Tuesday morning and come home Sunday afternoon. So that's a lot on my wife also, for getting kids to different events, driving one to a concert and another one to a basketball game to cheer for, and in two different directions, two parts of the state too. So we're very lucky.
And I never met your wife, but it sounds like your wife is a saint for having to deal with all that stuff, because people don't think about that.
Yeah, but she's blown her top a few times, and she has every right to.
Right on.
ECW. ECW. She's been a lot calmer since the ECW days, but yeah, as I say, it brings out the Irish in her.
I won't drop off the bourbon or whiskey then.
Yeah.
No, but ECW wise though, and one of the other conversations I thought was interesting, and thank you for the time, was bail illegal. That check-in, I heard you say, and others, it was like, say, 12, 1 o'clock early. Mm-hmm. But you stuck around to take in the roses. What was that like to take in those and smell the roses? But with big shows like TV or pay-per-view, as things would go on, did your responsibilities in the ring and being involved with the show differ?
Well, let me answer the first part of it first. That I just wanted to take it in, because I was like, who knows if I'll ever do this again? Who knows if ECW is going to make it past one pay-per-view? And I just wanted to take it all in and learn. I always learned. I made sure I never stopped learning, no matter what it was or who it was with. My God, how lucky am I that I got to learn just by being in the ring with, or listening to them go over a match or things like that from guys like Kevin Sullivan and Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes. My God, how lucky am I to and smart enough, I'll put myself over for this, smart enough to listen and learn and know that whatever I learned from guys like that, I'm going to be able to pass it on, whether it was training guys or whether it's doing the independents now and people saying, hey, we're doing this in our match. What do you think? I can refer to things back in my mind. Luckily, I still have my mind that I can remember things like that, and be able to help out. But, that's why I sat around and took it all in. Who knows? Maybe they had to change the camera angles. Maybe the camera angles weren't going to work, or lighting wasn't going to do what they expected or hoped. And, just all the different things that are involved with a production to a new level that we hadn't worked before. And even when we did TNN, that was a different production level than what we had done. So it was, the ability to learn things about the industry that way too. As far as, I don't think I took on too many more responsibilities until I started doing promotional stuff. Paul knew I was always there to help out. I wanted to help out. I wanted to see the company grow. I wanted to be a part of the business. And he knew that. And maybe he took advantage of it. I don't know.
Yeah, there was the driving around and whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Anything like that. I always had guys in my car. At one point, I had a minivan. And once word got out, I had a minivan. I was fitting 5-6 wrestlers in my car and going to a show.
And that's not even a Brian Pillman story, but
no, there were times where, quick, get him out of here. If they knew I didn't have the last match or something, get somebody out of the building, or he's done for a big name came in like Bobby. Bobby's done for the night. Why don't you take him back to his hotel for him? Okay, no problem. Cool.
Yeah. And it's funny.
And that, again, I can take advantage of the 15 minutes in the car with someone, getting them to their hotel to pick up little pieces of things here and there.
Well, I got to ask you, because I was talking to, very friendly with Pollo Del Mar, who's involved with the NWA and all currently, and done other things, champion and managers, and manager of champions, I should say. And Pollo brought up Bobby Eaton last night when we chatted, and it has brought it Bobby Eaton up to me a few times, which rightfully so. Bobby's one of the best technical wrestlers around. Probably one of the best TV champions of all time in the NWA WCW era. Where does Bobby sit in your ranking system?
Number one with tag teams. Best tag team of all time, in my opinion. I'll fight somebody on it if I need to. Is the Midnight Express. Greatest heel tag team of all time. And not even against the Rock and Roll Express. They made a ton of money against Rock and Roll Express. But if you go back and you watch the matches, you can catch them all and pretty much all on YouTube. I like their matches against the Fantastics. They were great stories. They whether it was with Dennis or whether it was with Stan. I'm a huge fan of the Midnight Express.
Right on. Where was I going to go? Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because I don't want to keep you all night. But
it's almost time for Jeopardy. I'm an old man. I watch Jeopardy.
I know, exactly. I watch it. That's where, between that and the History Channel, I'm nuts that way. That's what my degree is, sadly. But you were there, and this story's been told and all, but Meanie JBL at the reunion show, the first one, 2005. From my end, it was funny. Not funny. I'm not, because I like Brian. I don't know JBL. But I went to the bathroom when that whole debacle was getting ready to happen. Went to the bathroom, came back, was watching it at a friend's house. And people I was with go, "Hey, your boy's bleeding." Right? Like, okay. Like, at first, not knowing that. But it's like I'm not surprised that for the initial, not knowing nothing. I'm like, it's ECW. What, okay.
Right.
Like, but then you hear everything that went down. What was your perspective on that situation happening?
I was actually in the gorilla position because there were no referees out there because it was after the matches were done.
Yeah.
And it was, the celebration that Steve Austin started.
The toast, the whole bit.
So I was in gorilla position watching it on monitor. I was actually standing right behind Vince McMahon for most of the pay-per-view. And I don't remember him reacting to it. But I know John and I were like, "Oh my God, look at that. Ooh, that's getting ugly." Then if you go back and you watch it, the funny thing to watch is Tracy Smothers trying to get to JBL. I would have liked to have seen that.
God, that would have been interesting.
I think even Tracy tried to get to him backstage too. But Meanie got cleaned up and we left because Meanie rode with us. I know it was myself and John and Mike Keener and Meanie, and I think Francine was with us, if I remember right. And that was also the night that I almost broke my neck from getting
the power bomb
by Mike Awesome. And John's like, "Are you okay? Do you want to go to the hospital?" I'm like, "No, I'm all right." And I said, "But we need to keep an eye on Meanie." I said, we may need to stop somewhere on the way home. And we just kept double checking on him on the way home.
And that was going to be the question I had.
Yeah, we really weren't sure, but he was okay. And they worked it out.
Yeah. That's like I said, everybody's sabbatical at this point.
Right. But in the long run, it was business, not personal.
Yeah. Because backstory with this, and I know the reason you rode with Meanie and John and the group and all was, which is an interesting, I'll leave it as my last question, was Shane Douglas and what's his name? He was with TNA, and now he's working he's one of Triple H's right-hand men. Jeremy Borash.
Okay.
All right. They did the Hardcore Homecoming on Friday night. The ECW reunion was on Sunday. So there was a thing with, and I won't get into it's not my story to tell as far as Meanie's side of things. Whatever. But Meanie asked me to take him home, which we were kind of somewhat tight at the time and all. Yeah, no problem, whatever. hey, here's my bag, throw it in. I had a Dodge Intrepid at the time, which, right? So, I'm waiting outside, and it's like a couple of us shooting the shit, like Tammy Cinch was there, the Harris brothers, Justin Incredible had just come, and we're sitting at the back door, just, everybody's just shooting the shit and whatnot. Then it's like, hey, is there a crocky out here? I'm like, just knowing the backstory, I'm like, yeah. What's up? Like, this could not be good, right? Just knowing that backstory. Can you come with me? I don't know remember who it was. So we go in the locker room. It's like, he's bleeding and all. I'm like, oh, fuck, what happened? But it was something in the ring with Sandman. And were you out there during that with the ladder?
No, I wasn't at
on the
that
back
show.
of his head.
Yeah, no, I wasn't at that show. I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't do any of those extra hardcore forevers or whatever, things like that.
Okay.
And even the TNA ones, I didn't do. Funny story on the TNA ones is, and this is I'll tell it from my point of view because this is I'll get her. On my point of view is that I was told that TNA got the list of everyone from ECW, and they got the list in an alphabetical order, and they only wanted 2 referees. So Finnegan, Keener, Molineaux. Finnegan and Keener worked it. Molineaux out.
Yeah.
That was the story I was told.
Oh, geez. So anyway, Meanie ended up needing staples on his head. He goes, can you take me to the hospital instead of the house? Sure. And Wrestling Love here, he goes, we're sitting there at the hospital. He goes, hey, Crook, why don't you go over to 7-Eleven there and this is the time to throw away cameras. And those ended up in the DVD and stuff. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. So get the camera to, long story short, he goes, I'll take the pictures as they're stapling his head, right? Best part about it, though, and we can laugh about it now. They numb him, then wash out the numbing before it sets in. Yeah, because he had it was the chair or the ladder or whatever happened. The Friday before, then everything happened Sunday. But, oh, geez. So, to put a bow on things, because you kind of answered about the reunion shows and stuff there, so I don't have to go there. What do you got going on? I know you're on social media. You do some convention signing and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so what?
I'm actually finishing up my run in the Northeast sometime. I'm not really sure yet. I'm in the process of moving. The beginning process of it. So I'm going to be moving to Florida, so we can be close. My wife and I can be closer with our kids. They're down there and the grandkids. So it's time for Grandma and Grandpa to be there. We're not called Grandma and Grandpa, but but it's time for us to be there and enjoy their lives too. So I'm finishing up refereeing. I don't think I do have a signing set up. November 15th, I'm working for Lucky Pro up in Massachusetts. And then on the 16th in Springfield, Massachusetts, there's a wrestling convention. And I'll be doing a signing there from just 10 to 1 at the Lucky Pro table. So let's just, check me out on Facebook or Twitter or X, whatever it's called. At this time this airs, who knows, it could change its name 100 times between now and then.
Exactly.
But I usually put my schedule up, once a week as a reminder. And I'm working a lot for ISPW, independent professional. Am I reading?
Is that Tommy Fiore's company?
Independent Superstar Professional Wrestling. In fact, this weekend, tomorrow night, up north of Jersey for them at Lincoln Park, and then down here in South Jersey in near Linwood, down near the shore. So, I work a lot for Tommy. Tommy's brought me in, and I really appreciate. He puts on some really nice shows for family-oriented shows, which are great. And then, a couple of people here and there, they give me a call. Yeah, I'll come in. Doing some things for Gino Caruso coming up before I head south, and then I'll set myself. Once I get settled in down there, I'm going to start looking around and see what's what in the way of people needing reps. Need old fart reps who move a little slow but know what they're doing.
Ask Mike Reed. He's based in Orlando. He knows. And as far as you going down there for the kids, I'm calling bullshit because you're a Disney fanatic. I know you'll practically be living at the parks.
Boy, see you real soon.
No, I'm not. I'm kind of Disneyed out. I've kind of turned on Disney a little bit after all the stuff that they've been pulling lately. So
trust me, I worked there. I could tell stories, but
yeah, I know them too. So, but yeah, no, you know, there's a lot of things I want to do when we get down there. Not even any kind of park related, because really, I go to get on a roller coaster and it says, "Warning: if you have heart issues," well, that counts me out. So there's a lot of places I can't go. So there are things I want to explore. You know, it's a part of the country I never really explored. So, you know, go check out some glass bottom boat tours and airboat tours and all that kind of stuff.
There's some good Philly food in Sanford, but I'll get you the list of those. But Jim, thank you so much, sir.
Sure, no problem. This was cool.
Hey there, Friday fans. We know how much you enjoy the movies. Enjoy grabbing your Friday merchandise and interacting with the Friday family, whether it be at conventions or during our particular watch-alongs. Well, when you're looking to get yourself masks, why not check out our friends over at Camp Blood Customs out of New York State and order your specific custom mask from any of the films. All orders are made specifically. Your needs and wants are. Make sure you find Camp Blood Customs on Facebook, Instagram, and all over social media and order yours today.
Excuse me! This is Vicky Guerrero, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio.